This is Ask an Expat with Marcus and Matt from An Expat's Russia, where we answer your questions about what it's like to live, work, and travel in Russia. Hey guys, in this video we'll talk about the good and the bad of the Moscow Metro. Matt, what's something that you like about the Metro?
Sure. I think undoubtedly my favorite part about the metro is how often the trains come. In Moscow, the metro system is huge, but at rush hour, the trains come, I think it's close to every 30 seconds. It almost feels like one train comes in, loads up, goes out, and the next one
Yeah,
pulls in. And it's like
yeah,
that for the entire rush hour period. But even, 11, 12, towards closing time, 1 in the morning, the trains are still coming every, 5 to 10 minutes at a
right,
maximum
yeah,
interval. Whereas in the United States, I've lived in Boston and in Washington, D.C., and if you're lucky at rush hour, the trains are coming every 8 to 10 minutes, you know? So, yeah, by far, that's my favorite part. Of course, there's a trade off to that is that the trains are packed, even coming every 30 seconds, depending on the line. Definitely in Moscow, I know I lived on the purple line. It was an absolute nightmare. But on the green line, it was okay. Although they have extended the green line now, so I imagine it's probably getting like the purple line. But the fact that the trains come so often, if the train is super packed, you can wait, right? It's going to slow you down 30 seconds to a
right.
minute at your destination.
Right. I remember somebody told me, and personal experience, the I always avoided the brown ring line
Oh
because of
gosh.
how packed it was at rush
Yeah.
hour. So I would just go, instead of like going the red line up to the blue line instead of going to the brown line, switching over. So I would just stay on the train a couple more minutes longer and get off in the center to avoid the crowd. That's definitely a
Yeah.
downside, but
Well, so I think if you're using the Moscow Metro to commute to work, as a tourist, this isn't really relevant. But if you're commuting,
right.
you really want to live on the line where you work. Because if you don't,
Yeah,
I
ideally.
first started, I remember I worked this one job for like 2 weeks. I was on the purple line and I had to get to Moscow City. Well, the purple line north, I would come down. There was no intersection between the purple line and that like light blue line that goes to Moscow City at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time.
yeah. You
So
had to
there was
go
no
down.
way around it. You had to get on that the brown circle line, and it was terrible. You get off the train of the purple line, and then it's literally like sardines packed into the tunnel in the station, like to go up the
Right.
escalator. It was
You're
absolutely
you're
terrible.
doing
Like
your penguin
five,
walk.
6 minutes. Yeah, 5, 6 minutes on the Penguin Walk, and then you get onto another packed train. Oh, yeah. But then
I
once I
just
moved,
tried to avoid rush hour. Obviously, if you have a date, you have a normal job that has a normal schedule, then it's hard to avoid that. But one thing that I do remember when the Wi-Fi was put on the metro, like inside the subway
yeah,
trains, I was like, wow, because I lived on the red line
yeah,
near Yugo-Zapадnaya metro station,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and that was the first line that they put that they installed the Wi-Fi
Oh,
in the
interesting. I didn't know
trains
that.
on, and I think it was 2013 or so when they first started doing that, and you could before that it was just you were relying on the mobile connection between the stations.
Right,
And
right,
so if you wanted to look at like, a website, you pulled up the web page and it stopped loading. You'd get to the next station and load.
right.
But with the Wi-Fi, you could. I sometimes would just keep going on the same train. I'll get off of the next station and transition somewhere else because I'm trying to finish an email or
Right,
read
right, right.
something. So I think one of my favorite things was the Wi-Fi actually.
Well, what blows my mind is that in the US there is no real Wi-Fi on the trains in the metro. I mean, Washington D.C. there was no internet on the trains,
Really?
Wi-Fi. I mean, yeah, even today, like
Huh.
we moved from Washington D.C. area to Texas just a couple months ago, and in 2020, the last time I was on the metro in Washington, there was no Wi-Fi.
Well, I mean, it was easier in the beginning. Like they started, putting it on the trains. It was easier to connect, and now they have the free option. So you watch a
Mm-hmm.
few ads, and then you connect, you watch a few ads,
Right,
and then
right.
you can do whatever you want, and then you can just pay. I can't remember, a couple
It's like
bucks
five or six
a
dollars,
month,
yeah, for a month and
couple
no
bucks a
ads.
month. So if you're on the train all the time, every day, even a couple times a week, you're still on the train probably, a good hour to 2 hours a day at least.
Right.
And if you have the paid option, then you can connect, and you can connect to the buses as well. So
Right, right. No, I think the infrastructure with internet on public transportation in Moscow is above and beyond anything I've seen in the United States. There's obviously the best part about probably the metro too. There's so many great things about the Moscow metro, but another thing that we didn't mention yet is just how big it is. You can go anywhere in Moscow on the metro. I mean, in the
right.
U.S., in Boston and in Washington, where I have extensive experience, you can't. And even in
Yeah.
those places in Moscow where the metro doesn't quite go, there's such an extensive bus, tram, trolley bus, marshrutkas that are going everywhere. I mean, it's so easy to get anywhere with the metro, and
I
it's
think
quick
I
too. It's
looked it
quicker than
up.
driving.
I looked it up once. On the Yandex map, I looked at the distances between metro stations. Is
Well, those
anywhere
are
from 1 to 3 kilometers, but even
right.
like parallel lines, lines going down or kind of going
Yeah.
in a shape or something. Um, Between those metro stations, you'll have like 1 to 3 kilometers between the stations. So
Mm-hmm.
as you get closer into the city, you could potentially go out of one of those metro stations and walk to the other line
Right.
within 20 minutes. So the distance is pretty close. And then I remember when I first really lived in Moscow for probably the first year or two, I knew the city based on the Moscow metro system. So I would
Sure.
like have to pop up out of the metro, kind of like a groundhog or something, and look. Oh yeah, yeah, I know where I am. So like, if anybody said, "Hey, you need to go to this," gave me an address and it's the street. I was like, "What metro is that?"
Of course, everybody.
Even natives would do that right now. They're like, "What metro?" Because it's just faster to get, mostly faster.
Right. Well, I have a crazy story. Where I worked in Moscow, we had a driver who would drive employees around. He never used the GPS.
Yeah,
It was incredible. I don't know how he did it. I was like, it's easy to, really get to know Moscow by the metros, by the metro stops, as you said, but learning all the streets and where they are and how to navigate, it's crazy, especially because, they're changing two-way streets to one-way streets. And so,
yeah. Well, the
but
only
yeah.
reason that I kept using the metro when I started driving, it is when I worked in the center, or when I wanted to go during rush hour, like in the morning
Mm-hmm.
or at night. Um, and I wouldn't get a parking spot, or it'd take me probably a bit longer to drive. But I knew the areas fairly well. But when I did drive, I used Yandex Navigator, and the only thing it did tell me was the traffic
Right.
jams. So if you're driving in your area, you'll get to know it fairly well. But I would still take the metro often just to get
Right.
further. Like if it was across the city, then it'd be much faster. And then again, as a single person, most people don't have a car anyway. So, but an
Right.
interesting fact: did you know that um, in the metro, and I hadn't known this for several years, in the metro, sometimes you'll get, even though they're color coded and everything, so it's easy to navigate, unless you're colorblind, I guess. But if you want to know your direction, like are you going away from the city or towards the
Towards the city.
city,
Yeah.
the voice will be a male voice or a female voice. Did you know
Yeah, I
that?
did know that actually. Yeah, I did. I
I
did.
do you know which is which? I can't remember.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
We'll have
to
to-
check.
we'll have to
If you
put it in
know,
the
let us know in
comments.
the comments. Yeah.
But that
Although you say, real quick, you say it's easy to navigate, but I remember when I was in Moscow, it was probably 2014. I was staying at a hostel for a few days, and there was this guy. He came in. He's like, I've been to 140 countries, and I got lost on the metro every single time here in Moscow. He's like, I can't read a single thing in Russian. And this is before, the World Cup and the Olympics, before they had really started to put some effort into improving the English language navigation in the
Right.
metro. But I remember, like, if you had to change lines, all of the signs were in Russian. All of them. There was not a single English word. In
Only a
in the
couple years
Moscow
ago they
metro.
put them in English.
Yeah, so you say easy to navigate, but that's something really relatively recent.
Okay, I would
because
say
we
the most
implemented-
difficult thing for a lot of people, and even me knowing Russian, when you go to a station that has like 6 or 8 different exits, because they'll go,
Oh gosh.
it will go parallel to like a main road, and then you can
Yep.
go up either end of the metro, and then you'll go up each exit like left or right.
Yes.
And then after
Yeah.
you get out of the exit, out of the metro, it will have another crossroad, and you could go on each side of those roads. So
Right. Well-
that was difficult to kind of orient yourself underground where you wanted to go. Because then you'd go up one stair and you look around like outside, and you'd be like, oh, I need to be across the street. So you go back around.
That happened so many times in the beginning, but I don't know if you noticed, but relatively recently, they started numbering all of the exits at each metro station. I think they've got it finished now. They've numbered them all, and they're all numbered on Yandex Maps. So if you open up Yandex Maps and you zoom in on the metro
okay.
station, it would show little dots for each exit. And then there's signs when you come out of the metro to say, like, exit 4, 5, 6, and 7 this way. Exit 1, 2,
Right.
3, 4,
Right.
or 1, 2, 3 that way. So you can, it's much easier to navigate. But again, if you don't know which exit you need, because you're a tourist and you don't have Yandex Maps to know, and Yandex Maps will even tell you which train car to get in to be closest to your exit when you get to the
That's nice.
destination.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice. But
So
if
there's
you
lots
if you
of
kind
stuff.
of if you know which direction you're going, like I'm going out of the city, I need to take the exit closest to the back of the train, then it kind of makes
Well,
sense.
but you have to have quite a bit. You have to have quite a bit of experience to know.
Yeah, for newcomers, that
you're-
number system is much easier.
Right. But anyway, let us know in the comments what you think of the Moscow Metro. Personally, it's by far my favorite that I've ever ridden in the world. I haven't been all over Asia, where I hear there's also great metro stations, but among the US and Europe, where I've traveled extensively, no question, Moscow Metro, number one.
I agree.
Anyway, let us know what you think in the comments. This was Ask an Expat with Marcus and Matt from An Expat's Russia. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have a question about Russia, let us know in the comments. We'll answer it in another video.